Imagine two artists living in the same era, both masters of words, yet their worlds couldn't be more different. One whispered secrets of the soul, the other roared anthems of glory, forever changing the landscape of Italian thought. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating lives and works of Giovanni Pascoli and Gabriele D'Annunzio. We'll uncover how these two giants shaped Italian literature at the turn of the 20th century, exploring their contrasting visions that still resonate today. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why these poets, seemingly poles apart, are both indispensable keys to unlocking the rich tapestry of Italy's cultural past and present. We're about to embark on a literary exploration that promises to challenge your perceptions and deepen your appreciation for the power of language. The late 19th and early 20th centuries in Italy were a time of profound change. The newly unified nation was grappling with its identity, caught between the old world and the promises of modernity. It was an era ripe for literary innovation, a period when the established norms of romanticism and realism began to give way to new sensibilities. Decadentism, symbolism, and futurism were knocking at the door. Into this crucible stepped Giovanni Pascoli and Gabriele D'Annunzio, two figures who, despite their vastly different approaches, became central to defining Italy's literary voice during this tumultuous transition. Both were undeniably poets, and their contributions significantly advanced the evolution of Italian language and poetic expression. They didn't just write, they reshaped the very way Italians thought about poetry, art, and their place in the world. Let's begin with Giovanni Pascoli, born in 1855 in the Romagna region. His life was, to put it mildly, marked by an almost unbearable succession of tragedies. At just 12 years old, he witnessed the assassination of his father, a crime that remained unsolved and cast a long dark shadow over his entire existence. This initial trauma was followed by the deaths of his mother, sister, and two brothers in quick succession. Imagine the emotional weight of such losses. It's no wonder his work is saturated with an intense melancholy, a profound sense of fragile existence. These early devastating experiences didn't just influence his personal life, they became the very wellspring of his art, pushing him to explore the most fundamental questions of life and death, the unsettling mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of everyday reality. Pascoli's poetic vision is best encapsulated in his concept of the fanciullino, or little child, which he articulated in a famous essay. This isn't about childishness, it's about reclaiming a primal, almost instinctive way of seeing the world. The fanciullino is that part of us, buried deep, that retains a sense of wonder, capable of discerning the hidden meanings and subtle harmonies in the most ordinary things. It's the voice of pure emotion, unfiltered by reason or convention. For Pascoli, the true poet is someone who can tap into this inner child, allowing it to speak and reveal the profound, often melancholic truth about human existence. His poetry is therefore deeply intimate and introspective, aiming to capture the essence of things not through grand pronouncements but through delicate observations and an almost childlike empathy. He sought to communicate pure, authentic emotions, often tinged with a sense of loss and the persistent echo of memory. When we look at Pascoli's style and principal works, Myricae, from the Latin for tamarisks, humble shrubs, stands out as his most characteristic collection, first published in 1891 and expanded over years. Here, the language is deceptively simple, almost conversational, yet incredibly evocative. He didn't chase grand epic themes, instead, he found profound meaning in the mundane. A sparrow's nest, a field of poppies, the sound of a bell at dusk, these are his subjects. But these aren't just descriptions, they are imbued with rich symbolism, acting as windows into a deeper, often unsettling reality. Pascoli had an uncanny ability to elevate these small objects and everyday moments into symbols of a more profound and mysterious world. The nido, or nest, for instance, became a central metaphor for home, family, and the fragile protection against a hostile outside world, a direct reflection of his own yearning for security after his family's destruction. His use of onomatopoeia, assonance, and alliteration creates a musicality that mirrors the sounds of nature, drawing the reader into his contemplative, often melancholic universe. He made the commonplace extraordinary, hinting at the vastness of human experience within the confines of a quiet, rural landscape. Now, let's turn our gaze to Gabriele D'Annunzio, born in 1863 in the Abruzzo region, just a few years after Pascoli. If Pascoli's life was defined by tragedy and introspection, D'Annunzio's was a spectacular whirlwind of excesses, scandals, and public performance. He wasn't just a poet, he was a celebrity, a soldier, a politician, an adventurer, and a self-proclaimed genius. His personal life was as flamboyant as his literary style, characterized by extravagant living, numerous affairs, and a relentless pursuit of beauty and pleasure. He consciously crafted his own image, transforming himself into a living work of art, a symbol of aristocratic elegance and unbridled passion. Central to D'Annunzio's persona and poetic ideology was the concept of devate, or prophet poet. Unlike Pascoli's introspective fanciulino, Devate was an almost mythological figure, a poet hero with a divine mission to interpret the destiny and values of the nation, to guide its people, and to celebrate its grandeur. This wasn't about quiet contemplation, it was about public spectacle, about inspiring and leading through the sheer force of artistic and personal will. D'Annunzio saw himself as the voice of Italy, capable of shaping its future through the power of his words and deeds. He embraced the Nietzschean idea of the Übermensch or Overman, projecting an image of superhuman vitality and creative power. He believed that the artist, especially the poet, had a duty to transcend the mundane, to live intensely, and to embody the highest ideals of beauty and strength. D'Annunzio's body of work is vast and incredibly multifaceted, spanning poetry, novels, plays, and even journalism. He was a master of the Italian language, wielding it with unparalleled skill to create powerful, evocative, and often overwhelming images. His linguistic prowess allowed him to build entire worlds of sensuous experience, drawing the reader into a realm of heightened perception. Among his most important works are the novel Il Piacere, The Pleasure, published in 1889, which introduces his quintessential aesthete protagonist Andrea Sperelli, a man consumed by the pursuit of beauty and art for art's sake. Then there's Alcyone, 1903, a collection of poems considered the pinnacle of his lyrical poetry, where he masterfully blends the human and natural worlds, celebrating the beauty of the Italian landscape and the joyous surrender to nature's rhythms. The dominant themes in D'Annunzio's work are the exaltation of beauty, the intense pursuit of pleasure, and the celebration of vital force. He was the ultimate aesthete, a worshipper of form and style, believing that life itself should be lived as a work of art. His meticulous stylistic research aimed for absolute perfection, drawing inspiration from both classical antiquity and the decadent movements of his time. His poetry is sensual, often voluptuous, and celebrative, constantly striving to elevate the individual and underscore the greatness of the nation. He immersed himself in Greek mythology, classical literature, and the rich cultural heritage of Italy, using them as a springboard for his own audacious artistic expressions. He didn't just write about beauty, he tried to embody it in every aspect of his existence, creating a powerful, albeit controversial legacy that still fascinates and provokes. So here we have them, Pascoli and D'Annunzio, two colossal figures who stood at the crossroads of Italian literature, yet pointed in dramatically different directions. Pascoli, the poet of the Nido and the Fanciullino, represented intimacy, the delicate fragilities of existence, the melancholy beauty of a lost world, and the haunting mysteries of the everyday. He peered inward, finding profundity in the whisper of a leaf or the simple rhythm of rural life, reflecting a deep personal suffering that resonated with the changing society's anxieties. His legacy is one of quiet revelation, of finding the universal in the intensely personal, offering solace and understanding through empathy. D'Annunzio, on the other hand, was the figure of the Vate, the poet hero who roared with an almost pagan fervor. His world was one of dazzling beauty, unbridled strength, opulent grandeur, and unapologetic power. He looked outward, seeking to dominate, to celebrate, to inspire, and to sculpt life into a heroic masterpiece. His poetry was a performance, a grand spectacle of linguistic mastery and sensory overload, often pushing boundaries and challenging conventions. His legacy is one of audacious ambition, of shaping not just literature, but also public perception and national identity. He offered an exhilarating, if sometimes alarming, vision of human potential and aesthetic triumph. These two poets, though diametrically opposed in temperament and poetic output, both left an indelible mark on the history of Italian literature. They grappled with the same shifting realities of their time: the decline of traditional values, the rise of industrialization, the search for meaning in a rapidly modernizing world, but responded in profoundly different ways. Pascoli offered a retreat into the protective shell of memory and introspection, while D'Annunzio offered an aggressive embrace of the new, a celebration of the self and the nation. Together they helped to define the aesthetic and cultural canons of their era, providing a rich, complex, and often contradictory tapestry that continues to inform and inspire. They are not merely historical figures, they are living testaments to the diverse ways in which art can confront, interpret, and ultimately shape the human experience.